how's it going? So today I want to talk about knowing, and a little insight that came to me through the week this week was how it really is sort of like an impossibility that we know anything outside of ourselves. Because from my understanding, across the board in many different fields, it is recognizable that the reality that we perceive, so the external reality that we perceive, isn't what we think it is. It's not solid matter. It somehow reflects back to us our own state of being, or basically reflects back to us the meaning that we give it, or the definition that we give it. And so we are in a very real sense, creating the reality that we are perceiving, and becoming aware of our perceptions is huge when it comes to unraveling conditions that we don't like. And the reason I bring up knowing is that simply we'll never know anything outside of ourselves, because the outside is really just reflecting back to us our own state of being. So the only thing to really get to know is your own self, is your own essence, your own story, I guess. And if you don't like the story, then you can tell something different. I guess to me, it's the thing, it's this time. It's about going inward. It's about recognizing self as creator and dismantling the creations that don't serve the whole, don't serve the totality of our perceived creation. So this world that we're living in, many of us talk about unity consciousness. So this is about being led from a heart-centered place in your own knowing that is for the highest good of all. That is for the total expression, for the stories that we're telling ourselves, both individually and collectively, where we go from here, what are we going to do from here. And we can keep reading books, and we can keep going to courses, and we can keep learning. Of course, there's infinite learning to be had, but recognizing it from a sort of like flipping the standpoint of, it's not I'm learning something outside of myself. I simply am being called to learn about things that help me know more about myself, that help me understand who I am, why I'm here. And it doesn't matter whether it's going for a football course or whether it's going for some spiritual sacred geometry course. It's all relevant to the person that you are choosing to be here. So there's no right or wrong in that capacity, but there is a recognition and a true spark kind of illumination, a connection that we know or accept that there is nothing to know outside of yourself. Because even the things that we think we know outside of ourselves, they will change, because everything that we see outside of us is impermanent. Everything that we think is out there, or that we might think is real, is impermanent. It's always going to be changing. So even when we get fixed on an idea of knowing something outside of ourselves, this is a candle, there will come a time where this will break, or this will be left behind, and then I won't know it anymore. It will not be relevant to my experience. So really, what we're wanting to do is, in our own sense of self, become the eye of the storm. So you become the changeless, the impermanence around all of this changing reality around you. And ultimately, you choose your vantage point. You choose your point of attraction, because you have a total understanding of the nature of this reality, of fixing your state of being into peace, joy, bliss, whatever, and knowing that you're creating those sensations, those feelings, those vibrations, that you're creating them outside of you. You don't have to do anything to create them. You're simply going to allow them to be expressed from within you, because that's inherent in the vibration that you hold. You can't stop. We can't stop emitting a frequency. We are emitting a frequency all the time. So this dawning, this new age, is really just a knowing that that is all there is, that your frequency, your being, your perception is all there is. And until more of us come into union or merge within our own self, then we start merging with other minds, and we begin to see this evolutionary process of a shift, you could say. Now, many of us, of course, we've seen it happening for a long time, and we know now there is a manifestation process that we're also going to start to see from seeds planted long time ago, before some of us might have been born, and yet those seeds are beginning to blossom, or those seeds are beginning to sprout, in as far as seeing changes in the political sphere. Social media and interactive media for the public in creating their own news and creating their own access to expressing their self and expressing their content. I'm one of those people. You know, it's literally just about, hey, I feel different. I think different from what I'm seeing out there, and actually I can't go back to that place because it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to simply accept things are the way that they are. It doesn't feel good to be reminded constantly about all the problems in the world. So stepping away from that, and definitely having things like social media to find mentors and find people who are vibing on the same frequency, that of course gives us a sense of validity and recognition and affirmation. And it's important for us to see those more clear reflections. So no longer do I see reflections that ridicule me or reflect back to me my own self-doubt. Now it's simply reflections of clarity, people who are in alignment, people who are expressing that we're meant to have and be all the things that we desire being, which is very oftentimes when we switch off in life, whether we're children, teenagers, at some point on our life path, we buy and sell an idea that I can't be happy, that at the end of all this, I just die, so what's the point? And I'm not really very valuable because my family's not rich, or I'm not from the right class, or I'm not from the right race. And so we all buy and sell these core ideas about the nature of this reality, which for the most part is false. And then we're going about our day, weaving in and out of these limiting beliefs and assumptions about who we are and what we're doing here. And again, the large majority of them aren't necessarily true in any regard, because we're still awakening. We're still awakening to the I would say, ultimate truth, or the beyond truth, or the more divine truth of our own existence. And that's not something that we're necessarily meant to comprehend in that sense. Again, it's only about our self-understanding, our self-realization, our self-knowing, that as long as I know I'm keeping myself in this sort of good-feeling place, then there is nothing else. There's only the joy of the evolution, of my own evolutionary timeline, of my own evolutionary expansion on the physical, yet, of course, the soul level, because there's no difference. There is no separation between who I am and who my spirit is and who I am out there. And that's something that definitely has to do with our ability to harmonize our self, so that we can permeate our spiritual essence into our physical reality, which really does mean having everything you need and living in a way that feels good to you. You know, if there's a closet in your house somewhere that you're afraid to look at because the clutter's been building up, it's definitely worth looking at that, because oftentimes once we open the door, once we shine the light onto something that we think is a problem, it goes away instantaneously. So nothing in our reality and nothing in ourselves really ultimately is to be feared. But if there's a core belief of separation somewhere, of being unworthy, of fear of lack, any of those, then oftentimes we'll find ourselves in repetitive patterns of self-sabotage, because we're never enough. So we're constantly going to create patterns that show us we're never enough. So recognizing the non-duality of creation and recognizing the total unconditional love and acceptance with regards to everything, sometimes that can, and that is true, you know, and that's something that we can embody and recognize with regards to our own creations, is that even if there's a bunch of stuff in our world that we're like, I don't like that, I really don't want that in my world, we have the potential to look at it and be like, okay, I don't like that, and I know I've created that, and so I'm going to create something different. That's the thing with this stuff. There's tips and tools and techniques that we'll find along the way, inner dialogue that can help us become more clear, just simply saying I'm clear, or simply saying I'm going to relax and let go, I'm going to relax and let go. And there's little sort of get-in words, you could say, that help to bring us back into a place where we feel better, or at least we feel more relaxed or more relieved. And then that ownership, the ownership of you are everything you experience, you are everything that you see, you are everything that you do. There's no separation between this idea of like spiritual practices and physical practices. Physical is just the leading edge. The physical world is simply the extension, the full-fledged extension of what we call the spiritual. There's no separation. There's no this one and then this one, and really separate. That's not a reality for this cosmic universe. That's a false perception. It's not real in the way that we think it is, and how we define ourselves and the perspective with which we're looking out at our reality has everything to do with how we feel and our capacity to manifest or create the life that we desire. So I hope that was useful to you, and I look forward to sharing more insights and love and inspiration. And feel free to comment, get in touch, or let me know some of your insights, or let me know about some of the stuff that you're going through in your life, and maybe I can be of service to you. Have a really, really awesome day. Take care of yourself. Peace, peace, peace. Namaste. Take care.
All to love. All to love.